So yesterday I get a call and my daughter is ecstatic. So we're coming to the end of the semester and she has to do really well. She needs to do well.
Finish strong.
Finish strong. I cannot stress that enough. And we've got one class that's really challenging. There's a test next week and we're like, you got to be studying like 8 hours a day to get ready for this test. This is a big deal. She calls me yesterday and we could sit here for an hour and a half and talk about what would have been the best use of her time yesterday.
Right.
She called to let me know that she's fostering a dog.
Oh, okay. On top of all the other things
she
that she has to do.
FaceTimes me with the dog and her roommates to say, surprise, we're fostering a dog. And I'm looking at that dog and I don't want to hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
But I am like livid. I'm like, what? And I go, oh, a dog. Wow. I did not see. Did you pick him up at the library? Was
when
he
you were studying, is he a study buddy?
Yeah, was he at the studying too?
Was he at the student center? How did this happen to you when none of the places that you're supposed to be include the dog shelter or wherever?
Yeah.
Oh, but that's holding your emotions behind your face when the roommates are like, hey, we're so excited. We're all a family now.
Yeah. Are they not moving home for the summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
After finals.
Yeah.
And I
so
said,
they have a month.
Which means this
how
dog
long
is
are we
coming home to you.
No.
Somebody's got to take it,
No.
though.
I said, how long are we fostering the dog? And she's like, 21 days. And I was like, great.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now you're going to spend all of your time with this dog because you believe that he's been emotionally abandoned and that's good and doesn't have love.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that for a great week. You
Yeah.
have all your friends come over, meet the dog, meet the dog, meet the dog. We're the people with the dog. And this is the dog and this is what we know. And look what he's learned. Look what he's learned. Look how much he trusts us now.
Yeah.
And then what's that last week going to be like?
Yeah. There's a Friends episode about that.
We don't want to take him back.
Yeah.
This is the worst we've ever felt. You know when that's going to hit? Finals.
Oh.
That's going to hit on finals week. And here I am on our public, nationally televised show.
Yeah. Critically acclaimed.
Critically acclaimed, millions of followers.
Yeah.
And I am just flummoxed.
Wow. Well, are we here to talk about fostering animals today?
You know what? That is our topic.
That's our topic. It's fostering
You too
animals.
can sponsor
Yeah.
foster
You
animals.
too.
Call this number. Sarah
All right.
McLaughlin starts playing.
We can get started.
Hello, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast from the CityRise Network. Hosted by Jennifer Dennis and produced by me, Justin Kello, we're a podcast that was supposed to be focused on parenting, but we've kind of lost the plot along the way. Honestly, we don't know what this podcast is about, but we talk to incredible people who love Jesus, and our hope is to provide encouragement and fun whenever possible. If our lack of clear direction bothers you, we apologize, but no one is making you listen to this podcast, unless you're married to Jennifer. Andy, thanks for listening.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Almost Amazing podcast. We're so excited you're here. Thank you for joining us. We have an amazing guest today, and we're back with Justin.
Yep.
Let's check in. Today, we have Alejandra Rojas.
Hooray!
Did I say that pretty well?
You did.
Yes, I can roll my R's.
Good job.
Queen. Look at her.
That is a really defining factor in
Rojas.
learning Spanish in high school. You've got the ones who can and can't.
The
And
can
there-
and can't,
there's a
the
very
rules.
clear,
It is.
winners and losers.
And we usually call her Ale, and she's here to visit with us on our newly formatted show.
About a topic that Jennifer has been praying about for a long time. She did not come in today with any sort of confusion
I'm
or
ready.
lack of clarity.
I'm ready.
But we're checking in. So how are you right now? We're like Easter is breathing down our necks.
Yes.
I can
And
feel it.
each of you have intense Easter jobs. Like my job is like getting the word out about the events and then just like taking pictures at the events.
Right.
Y'all are the ones that are actually in the trenches that weekend, like
Correct.
just making it happen. So
I'll let you go first. You tell
how
us.
are you and what are you working on?
Well, on the worship side, we are coordinating musicians. So that was one of our biggest worries, having enough musicians or everyone available just in the life of the church. Of course, it's the biggest service of the year, us after Christmas. So making sure we have enough instrumentalists, just everyone in general that can participate. Of course, decorating the church. That's always a big part of it. Putting Easter flowers and just making sure there is some kind of congruency or just something across the board where we can all just fall back on. So that's one of our biggest focuses. But before Easter, we have Maundy Thursday, April 17th, if I'm not mistaken, and coordinating that service as well. It's more of a somber moment, just reflecting on Jesus in the Last Supper, Jesus washing his disciples' feet. So it's been a lot, you know. I'm like, it's 3 services. It's the second year that we're doing 3 services, and call time for the orchestra is 7 a.m. Traditionally, they're here at 7:30, and which means we'll probably be here an hour before them to set up and make sure everything is where it needs to be.
It's going to be a nice plump day.
Yeah.
It is.
And you will be dead that day.
I will be dead, but also here for 3 services.
Are you taking that Monday off?
Usually I don't. We have the Easter egg hunt
It's
on
the day
Saturday.
before, yes.
Right. And as you know, that's in Evelyn's Park. It's the Saturday before Easter. It's 9 to noon, and it is crazy. And it is tons of people, tons of fun. It's
Tons
such
of
a
candy.
fun, it's a
Tons
ton
of
of
eggs.
candy,
Oh, yes.
ton of all of it. And we have, face painting, crafts. We have, it's just a really wonderful time. Families coming together in the park. It's good. And it's always very well attended. I'm praying for beautiful, beautiful weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I used to, in student ministry, I'd get so mad at God, work so hard for an outdoor event, and then the weather would turn sour. And I was like, God, I am doing this for you. It's like, I didn't want to be here. But if you could hold off the rain, that would be great.
That's a couple times you got struck by lightning. The Lord's like,
what are you
better
doing?
trust what I'm doing.
And then usually it worked out. So
That's good. Well, we're excited. I think it's going to be a fun day, and we are praying for great weather.
yeah, cityrise.org/Easter is for all of our activities, worship service time,
Right.
locations, events,
All
everything.
along. I did want to say I've had a couple people reach out to me for my hot sports opinion on House on the Prairie, Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, because you mentioned a few weeks ago that a lot of people are streaming it.
a
Like,
lot
it's
of
the
people are
most
streaming it, and I
show.
do not love it. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with Little House on the
No,
Prairie?
I'm not.
Well, apparently we've got a lot
It's
of fans
like a TV
out
show
there.
from the 70s.
It's like a TV show from the 70s that is really
based on a book from like 1950
true.
about a family from the 1800s.
All of that is true. It is also true. It is very, it's really wild. Like it never, because I'm a kid in the 70s, it never occurred to me that Happy Days was a throwback show for people in the set, and that wasn't. Or the Brady Bunch was a throwback show.
No, Brady Bunch was on the time period.
Was it on the time
Happy
period?
Days was, though, because I watched Happy Days on Naked Night, and I thought it was from the 50s. I was like, how'd they get color TV
I didn't
back
know
then?
Happy Days was a TV show.
Okay, it is a TV
Oh,
show.
wow.
But it's
Or-
a TV show about the 50s, but it was on TV in the 70s. It was like
Right.
it was like our That 80s show.
But
Or that 70s show.
here's the deal. I didn't watch those until they were in syndication in the 80s.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the 80s watching a show that came out in the 70s that was about the 50s.
Wonder Years is the same way. Wonder Years was
It's about
out in
the
the
60s,
80s, but it was about
out in
the
the
60s.
80s.
I was totally confused growing up about these reruns. I did not know when anything
Especially in
was happening.
syndication.
Yeah.
It was really confusing. All of
Do
that.
y'all
to
know
say.
Sesame Street?
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what y'all were just saying.
Yeah.
The shows that we're talking about.
I
Just
love
What did y'all
Sesame
watch
Street.
growing up?
we did
Did you
a
grow
lot
up
of
in a
PBS.
Spanish speaking? Did you grow up in a
I
Spanish speaking household?
did.
Okay,
I
okay.
did. So a lot of my shows, I mean, we just didn't watch TV in English.
Yeah.
And so that's so normal for me. But anytime I talk about it with anyone, they're like, what do you mean? You didn't watch iCarly, you didn't watch
Hannah
the Naked
Montana.
Brothers Band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Hannah Montana. Hannah Montana came out at 8 a.m. on Saturdays
Yeah.
because it was free on cable.
Oh, yes.
And so we woke
So you
up
get to watch it
early.
for free.
Yeah.
And so that's how we watched
Gotta
it.
really love Hannah Montana.
Yeah, so we watched the equivalent to, we had child novelas, like Alegrías y Rebujos, Misiones SOS, and the list goes on of just these child's like telenovelas, and we ate them up. And so I'd come home, and that was the first thing we'd watch after Cyber Chase, of course, because novelas happened at 5 o'clock till the evening, till like 9. And so that's what we did. And I never questioned. And funnily enough, I have a friend that also grew up in the States. Her parents are from El Salvador. And her upbringing is very different. She watched all the English shows. And anytime I make a Spanish reference, she's like, I've never heard this. Sorry.
I don't
I don't know
know.
what you're talking about.
Wow.
And yeah. So
Isn't that fun? Like now it's when they start with those shows, you kind of feel like, I don't know
yeah.
any
I'm
of
like,
these
where
shows.
has this been my whole life? Like Friends, I finished it in high school.
Oh, wow.
Like
right.
Fuller House till college. I had never seen Full House nor the remake Fuller House.
Oh, wow.
I just never seen it.
Yeah.
I would say if you go back and you're like, I'm going to watch a couple of these shows on Disney to see kind of what these references are coming from, I would highly recommend Austin and Ally. I love that show.
I like Austin and Ally.
I did too.
It's a cute show.
So that was one of Olivia's favorites, I guess.
Olivia had her list.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't on her list. Did you watch Wizards of Waverly Place then?
I love Wizards of
Because that show is incredible.
Wizards of Waverly Place.
I was a grown adult watching that show. Like, it's so funny.
I watched all of the show. We didn't watch TV all the time. Let me preface this.
Right. Sure, of course.
Sure. When I moved to Houston, we moved to Houston from a small town, Brownwood, Texas, which is 25,000 people in the center of Texas.
Yeah.
We moved here when Olivia was 1 year old. We were living in an apartment 3 stories up with a dog. And I was completely overwhelmed. Like, I could not believe how huge the city was. I felt like we'd disappeared. Yeah. And then we watched the news. We watched the news one time. And I was like, we're not going to survive living here. Yeah. Like, this is awful. I turned it to the Disney Channel for 5 years. That's all. Like, I was done. I didn't want to know anything.
Disassociate, yeah.
I totally disassociated. And then whenever the TV was on, it was usually on a Disney show.
Yeah. We have an ABC 13 producer that goes to our church. And one day he was, he needed a quiet spot to have a conference call on a Sunday morning because he was on call or something. And so he's talking on the phone about all the stories they could cover that day. And literally everyone was the most terrifying thing you had heard. Like, people were like, well, yeah, there was a murder at a strip mall last night. You know, and like, every single, I was like, this is your job? He's like, yeah, this is my job.
You've got to choose. You've got to choose. So all the way back to the Little House on the Prairie fans, let me go back and just say this. It was an excellent show. But
you're really walking back your opinion because you did not say that.
It was an excellent show. Like, the writing.
It wasn't your vibe.
Oh my goodness. The sadness and the difficulty that those people face with their barn and with their animals. Yeah. And then not even to mention that bully on that show stressed me out. Whenever her face, please understand, I had to watch every single episode of the show, every one of them.
So what's a good TV show for you now? Like, what's an example of like what grown-up Jen
What is grown-up Jen? What are you guys watching right now?
I just finished Severance, you know. It's kind of like the whole of America. Did you watch it?
No.
Okay, see. Everyone but Alejandra watched it.
Not a kid-friendly show.
Yeah, but it's not even that bad, though. Like, it's as far as like popular TV standards go, it really isn't terrible.
Right. That's true.
Like, even the inappropriate things, they don't show anything. Like, it really was like, oh, I don't have to feel bad watching the show.
This is pretty right.
Yeah.
This is pretty. So you're caught up.
I'm caught up. Yeah, I'm caught up. Did you watch it?
I'm not caught up. I've watched some of it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I will say
it's not your vibe.
Well, it can move a little slow.
It's not your vibe.
It can move a little slow, but yeah. As far as for me, it's comfort TV. So
do you watch Abbott Elementary then?
I love Abbott Elementary.
You have to watch that show,
it's
like with your education background.
It's
like,
really funny. So to those of you who love Little House on the Prairie, I agree. It is a great show. Mm-hmm. I just had to be medicated to get through the sadness that happened to those characters.
Wasn't Seventh Heaven kind of a rebirth of that show?
Seventh Heaven came along, I think, with like Full House, and that it was my sister's or younger shows. We were just like, because we're 10 years ahead of the show. Mm-hmm. Like, if it came on now, I'd be more likely to watch it now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, it was Home Improvement, Full House. It was
Boy Meets World.
It's probably hit your group.
Seventh Heaven, a lot of people watch Seventh Heaven. I didn't, but I remember hearing stories of like they talk about drug use and random like insanely serious topics for these children. Like, it sounds very much like
Party of Five.
Oh no, that wasn't me.
That was in that same. Oh, maybe a little earlier.
Yeah.
So always like I don't know. Question marks. I don't know any of these. I don't know what you're talking about.
Severance. Is that a new show?
It's on Apple TV. Yeah, it's 2 seasons. It's just kind of the current nationwide obsession for people who are plugged in.
Right. It's interesting where you can kind of pull apart your brain and you have a work self and a home self, and they actually sever those. And so
like you walk into work and that you become a new person essentially that only knows work.
That's only conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And like, so you go to work, you work the whole day, you move back into an elevator, your brain like moves to the other side of your brain.
And now you're in
your
home
home
mode
person. So your home person consciously is always at home. And
just not in that room.
not in that room.
Yeah.
So your home person goes home for dinner and goes to bed. Like that's their whole life.
Yeah.
Whereas your work person, they come to work, they go into the elevator, and then the elevator opens and they're refreshed and in a new set of clothes and they're back to work.
It's
so
like
they're only
it's like waking up from
consciousness.
surgery. Like when you go into surgery and you're under anesthesia, like
They're
you literally wake
their
up.
only consciousness is work.
Yeah.
Like they have no other consciousness.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, and I think that's what they get to. I think at first you're like, and I think people are always saying, I wish I didn't take work home with me. I wish we didn't have to hear about these problems at home. I wish it was, I wish, I don't feel that way. I love my work. So I don't have that separation.
You wouldn't
desire.
sever, would you sever
Never.
one thing? Like, is there one part of your job like, if I could sever this, like for me, one part of my job that I'm so bored with is I spend so many time finding thumbnails from videos that make our pastors look the most flattering. Like I've got to scrub through and find them making a smiling face. Like I do it so many times in the week. I'm like, I'm so tired of trying to find.
Well, I will say you do a fabulous job, because if you took a video of me and slowed that thing down, I mean, I look like distorted, like, wow. There's one of me in the lobby that's been playing now for, I feel like 3 years, where I'm praying.
You're praying fervently.
And I look nuts.
You're praying fervently for the Lord.
Fervently.
Very
for the
passionate. It's just who you are, Jen.
So I could see that would be you wish you could be severed out
There's
of that.
certain tasks.
Ale, is there a task you wish to be severed from?
No, I mean, not really. It keeps me on my toes. But I do find myself the moment I sit down, or just anywhere, I could be in the car or at home, I'm thinking of the next place I need to be at.
Oh.
And so like keeping my head where my feet are is where I struggle. And so like I can be at my desk, Wednesday, I know it's my long day. I have to focus on making sure rehearsal is set, making sure Grace Notes is printed out, everything for Sunday, like anything that I need to do. But at the same time, I'm thinking, oh snap, like I forgot to like pack lunch, or I forgot to give my mom some information before I left the house or something. So that's, my brain is just has so many tabs open. So I'm thinking of all. I love that.
I like that. Your brain has so many tabs open. Do you want to know how many tabs are open on my phone right now for my internet?
An embarrassing amount.
Let's compare. I just deleted all on mine.
Yeah.
You did?
I had a little over 400
Whoa.
tabs open.
Well, I'm looking at my desktop over there, and I've got a few up at the top.
Well, on my phone, I'm going to pull this up, which is...
That's burning your battery. You know that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yes. It's refreshing in the background.
Yeah. And it slows your phone down.
It is doing this.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I just punched my microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, so 493.
Oh.
Yeah, it's time.
You got to start clearing those out.
And if you look through these, it's embarrassing.
Oh, I don't want...
None of these are
No
cool.
one should know that.
None of these
That's
are
none
cool.
of our business.
It's not like...
It's none of our business.
Baby dedication explained.
Wow.
Yeah. Do I have diabetes?
Wow.
Yeah. How to get thicker lips. Just so many. What kind of plant doesn't
No
look...
one's making you read
What
this.
kind of plant doesn't make me look poor?
What kind of plant doesn't make me look poor?
What kind of plant makes people...
So funny.
Never heard that one.
What's the color this year from Sherman Williams?
Wow.
It's
I have
Sherman
asked that question. Yep. That was in my one of my tabs.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then it's some Torchies. Yeah. It's sad. Fiber. There's about 80 of these on fiber alone. Anyway,
Is this the topic you wanted to talk about with phone taps?
But I do want to ask you, how many alarms do you have set on your phone?
I cleared mine out. I used to have 5 at 5-minute intervals.
I'm going to ask Siri. She's been on the phone before. She's been on the show before. How many alarms do you have on your phone?
None that are on that I use.
Like how many do you have set, prepared to go?
Just like one.
Hey, Siri.
It's usually pick up kids, and I turn it on and off if it's my day to pick them up.
How many alarms do I have on my phone?
We're waiting with bated breath. She ignored you.
How can you tell she ignored?
She said, "No, I don't have time for this."
Hey, Siri. How many alarms do I have on my phone?
Jennifer, what are you doing?
We're wasting time on this show.
What do you want to talk about today?
All right, let's get into it. All right.
I got a meeting in 29 minutes.
Ooh.
But it's on Zoom. So it's
all right.
Right there.
So today, what I want to talk about is the the perception, I've been really thinking through this about how people feel when they come to church. What is the experience like for people? Maybe it's their first time. Maybe they've been here for a while and they don't feel like they're connecting. I feel like there's a space between coming, kind of feeling it out, seeing where you belong, and feeling like this is home.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that journey of people who come in, they have this first experience, and then that journey from, oh, they caught up with me, they welcomed us back, we had a great visit.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to connect that to the sometimes the challenge that people make building community within the church. And I also want to connect the idea that everybody at church thinks they're perfect, or everybody at church feels like they totally belong. They're all in a group. I'm not. And the idea that we're not really real with each other, that we're pretending to be our best selves. And so I want to talk about some of the disparity between this idea of everyone else feels like they belong here, everyone else has a place, I don't. And I just want to discuss through that what you've seen. We're seeing that it's harder for people to connect. Even yesterday, I saw this study that said less people are in romantic relationships now. Like relationships are getting more and more challenging.
Sure.
Everywhere. So I wanted to ask what you've talked to people about, what you've seen, and what are some tips to people coming in, and what are some thoughts to those who are like very versed and very here and very present with church? Like, how can we be more authentic, and how can we be in a space to help people feel more connected?
I mean, I will say the first thing I think about is that the church is intentional about trying to help people through that process as best as possible. Like, it's not like we just open the doors and say, find your spot. Like we really have staff members dedicated to helping you get connected. And so I think there's some churches that maybe don't do that. But our church in particular has specific strategies for like, how do we take someone who's walked in and get them to community, essentially.
Yeah, to get them plugged in, connected.
Right. And it's not on each person to do that themselves, but they do have to like take a couple of steps of faith. And it begins with like our contact card, which feels impersonal, but that's the best way to say, hey, I'm here, help me. And a lot of people don't even take that first step. And then they get like frustrated, like, oh, well, nobody cares I'm there. It's like, yeah, all you do is sneak into worship. Like you literally sneak in the back after the music has started. And then during the prayer, you bail. So like, how
do you expect to connect or to get involved or meet people if you're not? Yeah.
So the most people complain about, I don't connect to that church, are the ones who aren't taking that first tiny step of like saying, I'm here, can you help me? I think is the first problem. I don't hear a lot of people who try a community group say, I just hate it. This church doesn't care about me. Like, I just haven't heard that story. The story comes from people who just sneak in and sneak out of worship and say, well, what's wrong? Why can't I connect? And it's like, well, you're not doing anything.
Well, even at that, like there's people that just there's a lot of social anxiety going on.
Yes.
Where like, I don't want to talk to people. I just want to be a fly on the wall. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to talk to anyone, or just taking that first step of just like, it happens to me at times, not here, but if I go to the store, or if I'm meeting up with a friend, like I will wait until she pulls into the parking lot and she gets down off her car before I step into any place, the restaurant, the store, whatever it is, because of that. Just the thought of I have to walk into a place and people are automatically looking at me.
So you wait.
Yes, I do.
You don't get in there first and start on the chips.
I do not. Unless I feel comfortable with the place or I'm familiar with the place, then I won't.
Rushing in.
Give me the chips and salsa.
I want the best side of the booth.
Wow. Okay.
I'm like, I'm going to go get a table. I'm going to get this thing started.
Yeah.
But other people do wait in the car for me.
Yeah.
They wait in the car. This is a side note. We're not going to get into this, but I believe half of America is spending half of their life in a car, in a parking lot somewhere.
Really?
Everywhere I look, people are in their cars in a parking lot. But moving on.
But it's just this.
I think you nailed something in the social anxiety is the fear. And I believe that fear also creates stories in our head about what people think about us, about what people are walking through with their selves. I think that's such an astute thought about the social anxiety.
We've begun to believe a lie before you even stepped into this reality of these are people that love you, that love God, that this and that. But it's like, no, I believe a lie that they're going to look at me because I have 3,000 piercings because I'm dressed a certain way. They're going to judge me. Yes. And now the church falls into this category where the church is very judgmental and stuff like no.
And they think they're better than everybody else. And everybody goes there. They're trying to be perfect.
Exactly.
And everybody knows they're not perfect.
When the reality is far, like this is far from the truth.
Whenever I see comments or people kind of sounding off about their faith, they've lost their faith, they've walked away from their faith, I would say 9 times out of 10 is because 8 times out of 10, it is because a bad experience with believers, and I think about that, a bad perception of who believers are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this frustration. It's rarely, I just don't like Jesus.
Yeah. Like it's never
rarely,
about who
I don't
we're going
find
to worship.
Christ compelling.
Yeah.
It's, I had this experience, ...
Yeah, I have a friend whose son grew up in the church and had a great church experience, and then he's connected with some people outside now he's grown up that had this perception of the church, and their perception has become his reality of like, you know, the church does this, they don't like this type of person, they treat people this way. And his dad is like, did you ever experience that in your entire 18 years in this house? He goes, well, no. It's like, do you think I feel that way about this? Well, no. But somehow he's throwing away a lifetime of experience based on what he's seeing online of other people experiencing and saying, oh, well, this must be the majority. Yeah. My church must have been the exception. Like, yeah, my home church was great. They loved everybody. They were kind. They were accepting. They were encouraging. They loved people through their sin, whatever. But he's grown up and is now hearing these other stories and saying, oh, well, this must be the reality. Is that the church is actually terrible. But his actual experience was great. And it's like, I think most people's actual experience with church is very limited when they have that perception of like, I can't fit in there. No one wants me there. No one cares about me, whatever. I think they're just looking at other people's stories and thinking that's the norm.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I feel it really hits hard with younger kids. I mean, going in the youth group, that's a really tough time for it to be sticky. And we talk about church being sticky, a place where you can stick and find a place and creating sticky spaces. So as the people are listening that are on our show, that listen to our show, hey mom, actually I'm kidding. My mom hasn't figured this show out yet. You know, what are things that we do as a church to strategically pull people in that maybe our listeners would benefit to know?
Yeah.
And how can we as the members of the church make a difference in someone first coming in?
Ali represents with worship is that when you get involved in serving, you're probably going to more quickly build a community than doing anything else in a church. So like the choir community is a really special group of people who share their lives together and share meals together, and they're serving together on Sunday morning. The basis of their connection is through serving the church, and you can do that serving the community or serving the church. But excuse me, their community is
Justin,
forged.
Do you have just like,
I'm getting
is it allergies or are you just emotional?
I'm getting choked up about the choir. But their community was
rehearsal tonight.
Was created exists based on a common purpose of serving. So like if you go to a community group and like, I don't connect, well, maybe you need to find a place to serve and connect with that person.
That's an excellent point.
Or even for like the new person that comes in. I mean, going back to the whole isolation and the social anxiety thing, and like what are some of the safe steps that we take as a church, and we've put QR codes everywhere. You know, if you're too afraid to speak to someone, you know, to have that human interaction, then you scan the QR code and a human will respond.
That's an excellent point. That is one of, I think, the best ways to begin your steps in. It's also interesting. Let's take the choir, for example. First of all, do you guys have do you have to sing to get into the choir, or is it pretty open?
It's open.
So you
should be able to carry a tune, which most people do.
Okay. So you don't have to be like,
you don't have to read music. Like you can just listen along.
Yeah.
Come on.
And we've had people, surprisingly enough, we have a good number of choir members that do not know how to read sheet music, and they still sing. A few of our singers actually went to Ireland with us last year for our mission trip that don't know how to read. They just see black dots on a page. They don't know how to read music, but you catch on. You just follow the patterns and you associate it and you learn.
I was in choir at UT, and I always had to sit by somebody who knew what they were doing because I can't read music. There's a guy named Angel Holland. He was my buddy. I was like, I have to listen, man. If you get this, I get it. If you're wrong, I'm wrong because I'm doing exactly what you're doing. Because he grew up in choir, he knew how to read music. It was easy for him. And so, but if you find somebody you sit by who reads music, and it's pretty easy.
And it's like even at that, going back to the community aspect, like that's how we've built community with some of the girls in the alto section. One of them is like, well, I just don't know how to read music, but you do. So I'm going to piggyback off of you. And then that just starts a friendship. That gets people talking immediately. And we're always looking for ways to provoke those conversations because it's easy to show up to choir rehearsal and just pick up your music, sing, and then put your music away and leave. It's just so easy to do that. But we'll provoke stimulating ways for just a choir to connect and just have conversations, and community groups helps a lot in stimulating that.
It's really hard to keep our kids people out of choir.
Sorry.
They just,
we're just really sticky.
Giant.
I've lost 2 photographers to choir.
And I am like, quit making eye contact with Paul Major.
Sorry, we're just nice like that.
It is such
we feed them. They come.
That's true.
I feed them.
It's a nice community, though.
It is a really great community. I also, some things that when the biggest paradigm shift, and I think I've talked about this on other shows, for me, we were not connecting. And we had been here for a couple of years. We'd taught in the kindergartens age. We didn't feel like we really belonged. And it was time for us to find our new volunteer. I was like, I'm not teaching that class again. That's not my fit, ironically. And God hadn't put that in my heart yet to be the children's minister. But we started greeting. We started greeting, and I think we were greeters for a year or two. And we had several different places. And Andy would get have I told you this before, Justin? Andy would get irritated with me because I was an over greeter.
You're too good at greeting.
And I would start greeting people from the parking lot, and they would have to walk 3 minutes while I'm greeting them the whole time. And it would be like, good morning.
You turn into a cheerleader.
We're so glad you're here. Hey, we're so glad you're here. I'm so glad to see you. And you're like, all right. And then I would move into compliments. Oh, those shoes look so good. They're still walking towards us, right? Yeah. And Andy's like, I'm not getting involved in that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. So it got so bad because by the time they're to us, they're tired of me. Yeah. They're so tired of the questions.
It's probably too early in the morning for them. They're trying to
there's a sign like, we made it. She's going to finally move on. Andy finally got to where he would push me behind a wall.
Wow. Okay.
To where he would be like, you step over here.
Just wait.
Wait. And then it would like a Jack in the Box greeter. I would pop out. Hey, good morning.
Yeah.
And what I came to realize is that if we decide this is our home, then this is your home. This is where you belong. This is where God has led me. And I started to treat the church like I was one of, even though I didn't have great close friends, even though I didn't know a lot of people at the time, I began, because I was greeter, and I would say be greeter, because it gives you this ownership of the church. And I was like, I'm going to start to act like this is my house. It's God's house, obviously, but like I'm a kid, like I belong here. I have to host here. And I started greeting everyone I saw every Sunday morning. I started to just not pretend, but say, this is my home. God has put me here.
Take ownership of it.
And once I owned it, it completely shifted the way. And then my thought was on other people. Are they feeling like they belong? Do they have a place to be? Do they need help? And it finally shed the weight of me feeling like and here's the deal. There's a difference between belonging in that God has given us belonging in a church, an eternal belonging. And if we hold on to that in a spiritual sense, everything else will play out. And so at that point in time, we didn't have any great close friends. And I just thought we are to help people feel like this is a place that they connect. And that's when we felt our purpose. So number one, I think for me was finding purpose in the church. Number two was deciding that if God had me there, I belonged, and that was my belonging. And it didn't mean I had to have 3 best friends, that I wasn't in a chat group about the worship selections that morning. Aaron Sensman didn't need to know me by name. I didn't have, and if I looked at someone else that was really super involved that had been there a long time, that wasn't my comparison anymore. It was my journey in the church that belonged to God.
Yeah.
And it completely changed how I looked at church.
Yeah.
And I remember this woman, this sweet, sweet lady, years later, I came on staff, loved staff. And she looked at me one day and she goes, I'm so glad you came on staff. Staff member. She was a staff member. She said, you were the one person that I felt like knew that I was here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And you were on staff. And it really meant a lot to me that we can become the person that's the stickiness. Anyway, I kind of talked your heads off about this.
I think that's really good because you're serving in this big church and, you're trying to find ways to make church look personable. There's a common theme that I've been running with for the last year and a half. It's like to be seen, known, and loved. Those are 3 things that we all as human beings want to have. We want to be seen. We want to know that we're seen, that we're known, and we're loved. So I can just, put myself in the shoes of that person that comes for the first time. It's like, well, you noticed me. You saw me. I wasn't just a statistic. I wasn't just another head count, but you actually took the time to just have a conversation, which is something, we always encourage in staff when we have events. Like you're hosting, you're saying hi to people, you're working the room, you're asking 2 or 3 questions, trying to remember their name. That's something that Paul will he's such a great name memorizer.
Really good.
He takes the time and he'll repeat it. And his rule of thumb is say it 3 times and it becomes yours.
True. So, I really work on that with people.
Just
so hard.
And it's so special, when that person hears their name said, it's you know who I am. You remember me.
Right.
Wow.
What?
My college pastor was great at that. The second week I came to the college ministry, he knew my name. I was like, this is insane. This is at UT. This is a huge ministry. And years later, I asked him, I was like, how did you
But there are only 3 or 4 Christians at UT. I mean, truthfully.
Rude. Boo. It was a big group and he knew our names the next week. And I was like, years later, I was like, how do you do that? I was like, it's really hard. He's like, but it's intentional. He knew it was important to let people know that I remember you, I care about you. And what's funny is what we perceive as oh, that's so thoughtful. There's a contingent in the world that feels like that's being fake. When you work extra hard to be welcoming. And it's like, what are you talking about? I'm being so intentional to make you feel welcome. How is that
That's fake?
There's a TikTok video of this woman who's talking about everything at church is planned. The greeters and the
I know what video you're talking about. Yeah.
And there's a guy cutting in. She says, the greeters are they're there and they're planning to greet you. And he's like, bad to be welcoming. Got it. It's
don't be hospitable.
Yeah, don't be hospitable. There's free coffee in the lobby. They just give it to you. He's like, no free coffee.
For coffee.
Deprive them of caffeine.
But it's this thing of they think because we're working hard to plan it that it's not genuine and doesn't come from our heart. And it's no, that's the whole reason.
Yes.
Right. It's because we want you to feel welcome and at home and have an experience that you can connect with God and know that we've worked hard to plan this worship service and we practice the songs and we plan the sermon.
These are ways why we do it, or we're provoking, that community, over a cup of coffee. Hi, how are you? Oh no, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you forever while drinking coffee.
Yeah.
You don't have to go spend the $6 at Starbucks. You just get it at
I
church.
do think too, our expectations of what we should look like in church is another foothold for the enemy. And I think that, when we look at the people in church and we have this idea of who we should be in that body, is one of the things that keep God from doing what he needs to do with us in that body. And I think letting go of that, asking ourselves, and you said to be seen, who am I wanting to be seen by? Who is it that needs to see me this morning to make me feel like it was worth me coming here?
Yeah.
And who is it that needs to know me to make me feel like I should be here? And who am I looking to love me to make me feel like I want to come back? And my question is, how are we adjusting our expectations? And
or sometimes we set our expectations so high over people, we never communicate them, and then we become we get disappointed every single time. It's you're disappointed not because they failed you, but because your expectation of them, they didn't meet your expectation over them. Right. It was never communicated. It was never set. So now you're disappointed. You're in this hole, and it's all about me again.
It's all about me and how I feel when I see you. And it's not even you. It's not even a real connection with you. It's all in my head.
Yes.
In my head. And so I think one of the prayers is, Jesus, I speak your name over my anxiety when I come to church. Jesus, I speak your name over my time at church and my expectations.
Yeah.
Jesus, I speak your name over. And I'm doing that more often in my life because I'm seeing how my head is taking over so much of the narrative.
Yeah. I hang on to.
Did you see that person, how they looked at me?
Yes.
They think they're better than me. And really that person is experiencing something totally different,
They're also in their
experience.
head looking at the world differently. And
yeah.
I hang on to what it says I believe, if I remember correctly, it's in 2 Timothy. But it says the Lord hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of love, of strength, or in some translations it says power, and of a sound mind. And I hold on to that last part of the verse. I'm like, God, like,
mind
Lord,
part,
you've given me
Lord.
like a sound mind, and that's connected to you. And that's, if it doesn't align to the truth of your word, I don't want to hear it. I don't want anything to do with it.
What a powerful prayer. I love that. That's so good. Yeah. And so I just wanted to discuss that a little bit. And I don't feel like here's the deal. I don't feel like we're trying to look like we're perfect at church. I feel like we're all on this journey of trying to be godly. And it looks like we're trying to be perfect, but really our hope is righteousness. Our hope is pleasing God. Our hope is living a life worthy of our calling, which is biblical. And sometimes that can look like we're trying to polish up our lives and look shiny, but really it's this, what's it called when you change over time? Is it sanctification? The journey where sanctification. The journey of sanctification looks like a group of people that are trying to do everything perfectly, but really it's a group of people chasing after the goodness, the righteousness of God.
Yeah.
And that can too be confusing to people.
Yeah. It's like we're all on our own journey. We're all walking the straight and narrow. Like we're trying and we're shouldering the load. We're working towards the same goal. And to remind ourselves that, love the way that Jesus loved, through the imperfections, through the struggle, through the trial, through everything. I mean, Peter had temperament issues, and so through that, like same,
I'm a big Peter fan here.
I mean, chopped off an ear, when Jesus was being taken away, but even through that, like Jesus met him at the place where he first began. As we talked about yesterday in staff meeting, that just that connection that Roger made, I was like, yes, just going back to the words from Goodness of God, like your goodness is running after me, like you see that over and over, this recurring theme. And I guess it's translating that from what we already know as believers into those that are coming into the body of Christ, and communicating that like, hey, I'm going to meet you where you're at.
Right.
And because this is what God has called us to do. And I want to love you and lead you through that. No strings attached, no agenda.
Right.
As people think that we have now.
True.
It's like, it's everything's planned. Well, maybe, but because I want to talk to you.
Right.
Like this is
we want
genuine.
you to feel connected. I've been thinking about this. I may have shared this on the show, but I was talking about this when we meet about how we're growing spiritually. And interesting note to me is I had this picture of Grace. And at one point, I went to a Max Lucado sermon, which was amazing. I don't know if you guys familiar with Max Lucado. And he was talking about grace is not just enough grace. Like grace is not just like you have enough. It is like you are floating in an ocean of grace. You can never, ever understand the amount of grace that's been poured over us. And I was thinking about, and I have to think about that a lot because I get in my head as well. But God gave me this picture of, Jennifer, if you were in an ocean of grace, what is sticking out? And I was like, my head. And it really hit me that oftentimes we get so in our head that we can't conceptualize or accept the grace and the greatness of God's grace. And it's like, what's the one thing keeping you from being submerged in God's grace is your head. And I thought that was like, wow.
Yeah.
I wish
and it's a lot simpler than what we make it to be.
Yes.
We're over here thinking these big philosophical and not saying that's bad, that's wrong either. But sometimes it's just a simple, hey, you know what? Like that was me. It was in my head. It was something I concocted.
Right.
It's not something someone said. I just believed a lie.
Right.
And that becomes our truth. And that's not on solid ground. It's like, go back to Jesus as your foundation. He's, you're not on sinking sand. You are on the rock. That's Jesus.
Right.
So
God,
when your
please.
thoughts are rooted in him.
Right. Show me
Nothing will
truth.
come-
Show me where my brain is, where I am allowing myself to believe lies, and help me to hold on to truth.
Correct.
So that was what I wanted to talk about today.
That was great. You did it.
That's what I wanted to discuss.
You did it.
I think about that on the regular.
Yeah.
But it's so good to have you, Ale. And
Thank
I
you for
think
having
Justin
me.
has a meeting.
I have a meeting in 4 minutes. Do you have a quick get to know you question?
Yeah.
Like, just real
What friend do you
fast?
talk to the most in your life?
What friend do you talk to the most in your life?
Right.
Other than significant others. I'm
Other
sure.
than family that you're
okay.
related to.
Okay.
And family that you're related to or married to.
Yeah.
What friend do you talk to the most?
For me, I text people more than talk to them because it's.
We are finding that men in general,
Yeah.
they're not on the phone chatting it up.
So most people I'll text are still my best friends from college. I got a
Right.
guy named John who I love dearly, and then my best man Charlie lives in New York, and it's funny. It's nice because like you can go a month or two without talking to them, and then like you just like chime in. Like that's my favorite type of relationship. Is
Yeah.
Yes.
you don't have to apologize for not checking in or I haven't chatted in a while. It's like, hey,
And when
I
you
had
do,
this
you
question.
just pick up from
Yeah,
where you left off.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Ale?
I think right now it's been Amy, one of my coworkers, or our coworkers.
Sweet Amy.
Yes.
That's so perfect.
I've just been, we'll get lunch. I mean, we've traveled together now twice, and it's been a sweet
You can
time.
go on a trip with someone.
Oh, that does a lot.
It's a good sign.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For me, I have a couple, 3 really close friends. Jean, Sonia, and Amy are some of my closest friends.
Okay.
It's funny though, like Sonia and I.
Different Amy, right?
Different Amy.
Different Amy.
Different Amy.
Both great.
Both great Amy's. Amy Pickett, Jean Pennington. Sonia and I will call each other, Sonia DeArmond. We'll call each other and be mid-sentence. It's like, and here's another thing. In the middle of a sentence. Like,
That's
I
so
love
funny.
those friends.
it'll be like, I'm like, hello, I'll tell you one thing. Like it starts, the conversation just starts with, let me tell you why
Oh, wow.
someone's about to be dead.
That's sweet.
And I'm like, that's a great,
Yeah.
I cannot wait to hear.
Imagine-
And so
yeah.
that, like, it's literally in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
Girl. I do like the people I get on the phone with and we say girl like 75 times. Like, girl.
Tell me my friends are.
Hmm?
That's when me and my friends say that all the time.
Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, girl, you're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
Oh, me. One of my dear friends, Eva, I'll just answer the phone. She's like, girl, you'll never, I'm ready.
How
I'm
funny.
seatbelt is strapped in.
You find me
I
an
understand.
extrovert.
What a common occurrence for
If
ladies.
you
That's so
find me an
funny.
extrovert woman that begins half her sentences with girl, I'm in.
Wow.
I am in.
Sold.
Shelly
she's a who.
Dobbs.
You
I
would
think
get-
Shelly Dobbs does that. I think she
Wow.
starts sentences
I
with
love that.
girl.
Yeah.
And there's so much. It could be like, this has been a bad day, girl. Or I've got some news for you, girl.
Such a personality.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I found some sales, girl.
I love
Are
that.
you looking good? Girl.
Versatile. Versatile word.
We only just learned that girl means everything.
Yes,
That's
it's
great.
girl.
Girl. Uh-huh.
Depends on the way you
got to
say
get
it.
out of this relationship? Girl.
That's funny.
That lady didn't know what she was talking about? Girl.
Or dude. I'll say dude I need to stop saying
Dude.
dude. But dude.
I guess dude's similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty versatile.
It's fun. All right. Well, this has been a great time in Ale,
Yeah.
as usual.
Yes,
we love
thank you
having
for
you on the show.
having me.
We'll probably have you on again soon. We love
There
you.
you go.
And thank you, Justin, for being here.
Happy to be here.
Do we do the wrap up?
Yeah, sure. Follow us, subscribe, like on YouTube, send to friends who you think would enjoy it.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being with us today on the Almost Amazing podcast.
That's not what you say. You say, we hope you've had.
We hope you've had an almost amazing time on the Almost Amazing podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Almost Amazing podcast from the CityRise Network based in Houston, Texas. CityRise is a partnership of church campuses, nonprofits, and missionaries devoted to lifting our city and the world by generously giving the gospel of Jesus Christ. For more information or to find a church campus close to you in the Houston area, visit cityrise.org.